do you sort of feel like you guys are constantly challenged to do something, groundbreaking in video, and that maybe this time, do you feel you did it as much as, say, a Molotov Brothers or a Kagan and Glass sort of thing?
Well, I think all the videos we've done, without exception, have been different than anybody else's. I mean, the Violence of Summer video, to me, is, it has elements within it that I think, you've seen before, you mentioned the Hungry Like the Wolf thing. I think it's kind of playful. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think it's very bright and stark and modern looking again. I love the way that the girls do look in it. The styling of them was very important to us. Mm-hmm. I mean, who wouldn't want to see girls wearing wigs and false eyelashes
exactly.
and those fabulous clothes? And the performance stuff I really like. It's nice to see a band performance again like that. The next one's going to be radically different again.
Do you have plans already? Do you know what it's going to be?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. What, do you know the song?
Yeah, it's a song called Serious.
All right.
We're going to film the next video in LA though, and I don't think it'll be like anything else. Not at all.
Who directed Violence of Summer?
Violence of Summer was directed by Big TV, a couple of English guys. We've done some other stuff, some really good stuff. Soul to Soul, I think they did, and The Beloved. Mm-hmm. I like their outlook. They're kind of, they don't mind pushing the film until it goes so white that you'd think it wouldn't stay there, but it does.
Anything to those stories? I guess a year and a half ago, maybe they were floating that you were going to do some Warhol role in a film.
Yeah, I was offered a part playing Andy Warhol in a movie, but I looked at the script, but it would have been a very difficult thing for me to do anyway. Having known him, and I didn't like the script, and so I sent it back.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the whole? There was the Diaries last year. There's another book imminent.
Well, the Andy industry is going to perpetuate for a long time, I think. I think he'd be pleased, There's John Cocteau, I guess, has the greatest epitaph on his grave. It just says, "I remain with you," and Andy will remain with us.
Sure. One thing that Andy never encountered, but certainly and most, I guess, notably, Barbara Mapplethorpe, of course, did is this furor of late over among not only Congress but other fundamentalists in this country about government funding of art, which is, by some people, I suppose, judged to be offensive. Do you have any? It's the National Endowment for the Arts, is the organization here that provides funding, and up to now they have not had any sort of restrictions on that which would get federal funding. Now the proposals are that artists be required to sign some sort of affidavit that will say that I will not do anything obscene or something like that. Any thoughts on this whole?
I think it's despicable. I don't think any country that claims to be a free country should dare to invade people's creativity in such a manner. I think it is just appalling, as I think the record censorship is disgraceful. I mean, the kind of world we live in anyway, and the kind of scandal that goes on everywhere every day. People should be allowed at least the freedom of speech and truth. And, governments that do that kind of thing, I just cannot abide. I think it's appalling.
Would you rather see no government money than at all? Is it the choice of, restricted government funding or none?
I don't like government manipulation. I think they want to spend their money on something. They shouldn't put such rigid conditions on it. I'm all for the government funding arts. It needs money, and it's something that, because it's, a lot of people regard it as being a luxury or something that's, a minority, something that often gets cast aside. And I think it's a very important form of expression expression that documents culture and society. And absolutely people should spend money on it, because there's a lot of people out there with brilliant ideas that just never get to see the light of day. But as regards restrictions, it's crazy.
Right. One thing I didn't get a chance to speak to you about the last couple of times, I don't think since Tijana was just born, actually, is sort of being a dad, and how much, to what extent that's changed you, either as a person or as an artist. Do you think you've changed a lot since you've had your child?
Not radically. I mean, obviously having a child is a great thing. I mean, I love kids. I think I relate to kids a lot better than adults most of the time. I mean, they always tell the truth, which is so fabulous. It's great to have them around. You see everything again. You can, if you're lucky, I guess you recapture some of their innocence and their naivety, which you realise how beautiful it really is when you see it.
Are you different as a parent, say, to how you were? I mean, did you? Just one other thing about that. I wanted, in terms of the way you were raised and, the way your parents were with you, have you learned lessons from that? Or do you find you like your parents in the way you deal with your daughter?
Well, I was very lucky when I was growing up. I mean, my parents were really kind of open-minded, and I think with her, I just want her to be able to make her own decisions. I mean, even now, she's nearly 4, but I mean, you watch her doing things, and everybody, it's just instinct. People have a way of figuring things out, and rather than tell her everything all the time and this is the way it's got to be, I like to see her develop on her own, and I'll make sure she has a good education, obviously, and has fun. It's a funny world to grow up in.
Are you able to spend as much time with her or are you not as into work now because of having a child?
No, I'm as much into work as I always have been. Obviously I spend a lot of time with her though, because like a lot of people have 9-to-5 jobs or whatever, and they only see their kids. When that's done, I mean, I might have the strangest hours that anybody has, but I mean, there's like periods when I see her for 2 weeks solid, and then I won't see her for a while, and I suppose it's not as routine, but then, what the hell? I never like routines anyway.
Cool. We are doing, in addition to sort of the piece on the new album and everything, which I'm going to talk to Warren Sterling about too, we're doing a rockumentary, sort of more retrospective.
If you will, rockumentary.
Great term, isn't it? We come up with the ideas for shows and NAF words for them, but whatever. Anyway, I just want to ask you about a few things. If I can
Sure, go ahead.
I think from a Durante circa 1984's point of view, this band is radically different from what they thought of as Duran Duran. Can you is it possible for you to sort of step aside from it like that and tell me whether or not you see it as that different? Do you see the two bands as that?
I think this band that we have now is radically different than the band we had, in the early 1980s. The reason being that, it is 10, 11 years later, and I think Simon, John and I have had so much more experience, and also Sterling and Warren are both American, and they add a very different flavour to the band. They grew up with different kinds of music than what we did, but it's great because we both introduce each other to things. And, Warren played me all this Frank Zappa stuff he played on, and I'd heard some of that stuff, but I'd never really gotten into it. And there's some great things there. And Sterling, he has the best collection of funk records that I've seen in a long time, and that kind of bringing that into the music is obviously going to make the sound very different. However, having said that, I think the whole concept of Duran Duran has remained constant from day one, just to keep making totally unique modern records.
The fact that the band allows for two Americans in it now just is an indication that you've changed.